What is up, team? Welcome back to the Dentistry Invest podcast. I've been looking forward to this podcast for, when did we first speak, James? It was 3 days ago.
Before these
Well,
go,
I've been looking forward to it for 3 or 4 days in that case then, because James, who is the dentist I have sat opposite me on this podcast today, is the only dentist. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. But let me just say what I was going to say before I explain why it isn't necessarily true. Is one of the only dentists I've ever met who has actually also simultaneously got qualifications whenever it comes to being a financial planner and whenever it comes to being a financial advisor, which we'll reveal more about in a second. The reason why that's not true is I actually did meet a guy from the States once who's done the same thing and he has a financial advice firm, but certainly not anybody from the UK, James, which is why you're the first. But anyway, before we talk about all of that, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. And it's good to meet you properly. Have a good chat.
Yeah, I know, because to pre-frame this for everybody's listening as well, we haven't actually met properly face to face, and we're doing that today for the first time on Zoom. So yeah, it is an absolute pleasure to meet you properly, and I'm really interested to hear about your story simultaneously to the guest. We're going to find out together because you and I caught up a little bit the other day, but not in deep granular detail, which is what I'd like to talk about today, and also the reasons why you were inspired to do that, James. Because there's so much I feel information that is not necessarily aligned with our goals and objectives as dentists and our financial freedom that is out there. And that can be in the regulated world and also the non-regulated world. And the biggest gift is to empower ourselves with education and knowledge, which is exactly the method, which is exactly the mission rather of the Dentistry Invest platform. So we're going to delve into that today 100%. But just before
That's
we
good.
do, James, it'd be lovely if we could have a little bit of a bio about yourself for the listeners, a little bit of an introduction.
Okay, so I'm James Taylor. I live in Leeds in the UK. I qualified in '96 from Newcastle, and since then I've been a general practitioner. I did a stint as a house officer, but essentially I'm a GDP. I've worked, I have my own business, which we can discuss. I've had numerous businesses, bought and sold, built, etc. But I also I enjoy clinical work. I enjoy clinical dentistry. I do restorative work. I do implant work. I do orthodontics. And over the period of time, I've got certificates in all aspects of restorative, implant, dentistry, etc. And I'm currently the UK clinical expert for SureSmile. I'm a KOL for Dentsply and CAD-CAM. I'm on the global team, do some lecturing abroad in the UK. And so I'm really kind of, well, one of those crazy guys that do a lot of studying and keep learning because I quite enjoy it really.
Dude.
Um, and then the finance side came pretty early on, actually. You want me to keep going and I'll keep talking?
Yeah, listen with
Yeah.
intent.
So I was a new dentist, probably in my late 20s, early 30s, and everyone was coming to me. You've got a few quid in your pocket and invest, you count, or you need to put your money somewhere, you need to do something, invest for the long term. So I saw financial advisors, I had discussions with them, and they're being offered unit trusts, I'm being offered private pension schemes as well as my NHS, all this kind of stuff. And I didn't really understand what I was being told. I didn't get it. And so I was reading the FT. I read the FT Weekend. I always have been. It's a great resource because it gives you a summary of the week and everything else. Anyway, I was reading that, and I read that the financial planning certificate, which is a bona fide certificate that financial planners in the UK would do in order to become a financial advisor. Was available to do. So I thought, do you know what? How else am I going to learn? I might as well do the exams. And I don't mind studying. I'm one of those nerds that have always enjoyed it. And I did the exams. It took me about a year to do it. Did the exams, got myself what's called FP1, 2, and 3. They've changed now, but essentially it gave me a really strong grounding in investments and opportunities, risk profile, balanced portfolio, all that kind of thing. And it really set me up to allow me to really understand my own personal journey moving forwards, what I want to do as far as investing, aims, objectives, and the short, medium, long term. And it's really stood me in good stead moving forwards. I spent some time, a little bit of CPD courses for dentists, talking about investments and that kind of thing, and how they manage their money, their wealth, etc. And so I'm just enjoying that space. I'm currently doing some webinars in the US for CDocs, which is an online portal, and I'm beginning to discuss that journey again with them about return on investment, and how business of dentistry and how you basically generate and make the business successful. So that's kind
Nice.
of my journey. That's kind of where I am currently.
Listen, mate, hats off to you. Spinning a lot of plates, but you know what? I'm reading between the lines, and it sounds like that's how you like to be, and that's something that you enjoy, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I just enjoy. I enjoy doing everything, and I'm a bit crazy. I'm kind of like someone said I've got ADHD, and I probably have because I've got so many things. But you know what? If you function and you're happy and you get on with it, it's great. On top of that, I also enjoy construction as well. So I do a lot of building as well, which is just almost like dentistry. It's a treatment plan, it's a schedule, and you just build it. So dentistry and building construction are very similar. You've got a plan, process, organize, and sort. So if you're that kind of person, which I guess I am, then there's been a lot of benefits to doing construction as well. So I enjoy that as a bit of a sideline hobby, but absolutely helps with that whole long-term plan of generating wealth and income really moving forwards.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know the whole ADHD inverted commas thing that we were talking about just a second ago, and you don't have a diagnosis of that, by the way, do you?
No, it was funny because we built a new surgery about 5 years ago. We brought someone in to help us set things up, and she was a teacher by trade previously, and she now did all this practice management stuff and helped us get all the processes CQC set up. I sat down with her for about 10 minutes. She said, "Oh my God, has anyone told you got ADHD?" I'm like, "No." And my business partner's like, "Oh my God, he so has." And that kind of explains everything. So I'm undiagnosed, but I'm sure pretty much. And when I told everyone else, I was like, "Yeah, of course you have. How did you not know this?" So,
But
so that's kind of that. I think that's it.
all I was going to say was, I think business makes you that way because you've got so many things to simultaneously be able to focus on, and so many plates to spin. Just as we were saying a second ago, that your ability to process information just becomes really, really, really small. Your brain is like overstimulated, and then it's kind of constantly looking for ways to stimulate itself, which resembles you having a small attention span. But in reality, it's just an adaptation to the situations that you're constantly in. And I've seen that in myself over the years.
No, I agree completely. I'm very lucky as well that I can put things in boxes. I can kind of shut stuff away and kind of move things along. So I'm
Yeah.
very fortunate I can do that. But yeah, I enjoy it. Look, at some point, I'm sure I'm 51 now. I'm sure I'll slow down a bit, but currently it's full steam ahead, and I'm enjoying myself.
Hell yeah, man. And it's horses for courses, and it's all about what makes each and every one of us happy, however the flip that looks. Some people like
Absolutely.
7 days a week in dentistry. Some people like 8 days a week in dentistry if they could flip and do it. You know what I mean? And some people like no days of dentistry and they'd
Well,
rather do other
on
stuff.
that, I must tell you, I used to do 5 days. 20 years ago, I went to 4 days, and 10 years ago, I went to 3 days. And I'm more productive in the surgery in 3 days than I was ever at 5 days, and definitely better than I was at 4 days. 3 days clinical, you concentrate, you're working hard, you get things done, patient gets your full attention, but you're not burning yourself out. I would always advocate that. I said to my business partner, he was doing 5 days, Mike, do 4, drop a day. And actually, absolutely, it was almost like, oh, so much better. So I would always advocate that.
Boom. Love that. And yeah, that is actually something we preach about in the Dentistry Invest podcast as well. And how can we say another reaffirmation of that message from another guest for the listeners who are joining
Totally,
us today?
totally. Don't work 5 days a week is too much. The stress, the concentration, your body and your mind has to just shut down a little bit. But you can still be productive on that 5th day or even that 4th day. There's lots you can be doing to help yourself, and it really does help you. So, it's helped me anyway.
Boom. Cool. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you for sharing your story. And just to bring it back to the qualifications that you have in finance, I'm dead curious, what inspired you to begin those? What inspired you to do those?
Well, essentially, like any dentist as an associate, you're earning a good money compared to your peers who may have been at university as well. We can generate income pretty quickly as dentists, as associates. And so, I had some money, had some spare money. I knew I needed to invest. We had kids pretty early. I knew I needed to look at where that money would go. And I just didn't really understand that. It didn't really make sense to me. I had my NHS pension, and then I was looking at other investments, and then I'm looking at how that works in terms of who takes what commissions at the time, and it didn't make sense to me. It just conflicted. Thought, I'm going to do this is to learn myself. And like I said, I remember reading the article in the FT, and it's like, this is how you become a financial advisor. So I just contacted the CII, which is the Chartered Insurance Institute, who did those exams at the time, and I just got on with it. And it was just, I enjoy reading. I read a lot of stuff, as I think you do as well. And it was just like, it was interesting. It was interesting. I enjoyed learning about it, learning about, risk profiles, about different types of investments, different types of pension schemes, how you can just basically, get yourself a balanced way of moving forwards in terms of business, in terms of your wealth, in terms of income, in terms of long term. It just helped me see the bigger picture, really. So I couldn't really, I still had to use financial advisors, and I had to use other mediums in order to make the investments. I couldn't do them myself, but I had an understanding, and it let me move forwards in a way that I was then in control. And for me, it's all about control. I want to be in control of my own destiny, and that allowed me to feel that empowerment to do that. And I think that's a lot of people, a lot of dentists don't feel like they're in control. They're just being pushed along and don't really know where to start, jump on, jump off, or what their strategy is. And I see that a lot with friends and colleagues.
I think a big part of somebody feeling like out of control or sad or frustration is basically just not knowing what to do, which comes through education, which comes through knowledge. Because if you think about it like this, have you ever seen the movie Limitless? I love this analogy. I love this little thought experiment. You've seen the movie, right?
Microdose. So we're getting on to microdosing here now.
What do you mean? What'd you say? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, nothing like that. We're not into any substances or anything like that in the Density Best podcast. Strictly don't do that. But anyway, back to Bradley Cooper. So basically, if you think about that movie, what happens in that movie? He takes a pill, doesn't he? And then he knows everything there is to know in the whole wide world. And then he just sees limitless opportunities because he has limitless knowledge. So you've got Bradley Cooper in that movie. You've got a normal human being. It's kind of like a scale. And the closer and closer you can get to that level is the more opportunities you see. The knowledge that you have is literally the lens of the skills and knowledge that you have are the lens through which you see the world, the opportunities through which you see the world. Like if you're a dentist and you look in someone's mouth, then you'll be able to see how you can treat them. You'll see an opportunity to give them value, however that looks. If you're a periodontist, you'll be able to see the potential to perform some sort of perio operation in their mouth. If you're an orthodontist, you'll be able to see an opportunity to move their teeth. The point is you wouldn't see those opportunities to help somebody unless you had that knowledge.
Gotcha. But that's where I am, unfortunately, more so, and that's what drives me my own mind crazy, because that's why I've done orthodontics, and then I did also restorative, and then I did implants treatment because I wanted to see the whole picture, and I couldn't do that, so I'm going to learn about that. That's helped me now in my career moving forwards, because when I'm helping clinicians, I do one-to-ones with dentists with Sure Smile, but it's not just about moving teeth. It's about the pre-restorative, the alignment, and then the post-restorative. And if you understand everything, doesn't matter, you have to understand it as a specialist would, but as long as you have an understanding, it then opens options up both for yourself and the patients. And that's the same with finance. If you understand the options, it's always about having choices. Then you understand your choices, and then it gives you a broader spectrum in order to go for, rather than just some narrow field, there's some narrow road. You can get to that destination on different trains, and that's kind of where I am with everything I do. I want options and choices.
It all starts with learning. And listen, you hit the nail on the head. I absolutely love to read books. The way that Dentistry Invest started was me going in this big old voyage of reading random books on finance and money and cryptocurrency and business without even really expecting to find anything. And then once upon a time, I basically started the Facebook group and I started to share that stuff, and that was how it grew. So those seeds that I planted for the group, I actually planted many years beforehand, and there were things that I used in my own life effectively. So what I'm saying is that the more we can propel ourselves closer and closer to that version of Bradley Cooper in Limitless by learning more and more and more, it's actually the more opportunities that we see in this world, which is awesome. And it sounds like that has played a big factor in your journey as well. Can we take a quick tangent to just ask you about what your favorite book on finance is before we resume normal service and pull it back to the qualifications?
Okay, so as far as books, there's one book that almost is the first book I really read was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I don't you know that, I mean, that's just almost like a Bible, and that made me think differently. But I'll tell you what, the real book, my Bible, I guess, is do you know Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power?
Oh my God, can I show you what I have over here? Right, this happens pretty regularly on the podcast where I literally have the book sat beside me. This isn't 48 Laws of Power, but this is the daily laws, which we'll come on to in just a second. But yes, 48 Laws of Power.
It's amazing. It's almost like a very polite art of war, but it's absolutely that I started reading that through years and years ago, and actually a lot of the stuff I already did and already not knowingly did, but that for me has been something that's really helped me just think through, and it's the most amazing book. But now he's got a book on mastery as well, and I actually quoted that. I've done some courses for Dentsply with aligners and stuff, and I use his analogy of mastery because I just think he's great. And, he does a lot of podcast stuff as well, and he talks a lot. But Robert Greene really is a very smart guy, and that 48 Laws of Power you can really just use in every way, in every aspect. There's lots of stuff like tipping point, that kind of stuff. I read a lot of stuff as well like that. So it's all very useful. It just helps you think outside the box. And for me, it's always been about lateral thinking. Just what are my other options, and how do I actually do something slightly different from everyone else?
And just for the listeners, for the benefit of the listeners, anybody who hasn't heard of 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, what it effectively is is 48. Now, it's not a comprehensive list, but 48 of the coolest lessons that this author, Robert Greene, has discovered over the years in terms of preserving your power in social situations so that you can preserve your status and you can come across as someone with authority, which obviously helps you in many areas of your life because fundamentally, if you're going to do business or you're going to do lots of things in your life, well, you have to deal with human beings. So it's all about how to get the most out of those interactions.
Yeah,
So anyway,
it's interactions and networking, and it just helps you move through life in a way that actually you're maintaining some form of control of your existence and purpose and moving, and life, etc.
so I gave everybody that pretext, and yeah, you're right. You've added to it there to give it a little bit more context, so everybody knows the form of the book and they know how the book works. And on that very note, so just for clarity for everybody's listening, there are 48 distinct laws. On that very note, James, what is your favorite law from the book?
Oh, I'll have to go get the book. I'll have to get the book. It's all very, very. Some of them are a little bit out there, can be a
Yeah.
little bit, head to head. But a lot of it is about just. There's a really good one which is I can't remember what it's called, but it's kind of almost like what's the word? Less is more. So for me, less is more. Okay, it's almost, yeah, I use that a lot. Less is more in many things, but it almost just just don't go in all guns firing. It's probably the wrong way of putting it, but absolutely just take it steady, keep an eye on what's going on, keep your options open, and just move forward. And same with finance, I guess. Just don't jump in and just don't be so focused on one area. Spread everything out and then look at options and opportunities. And that's kind of what I do. I'm a bit of an opportunist, I guess. But yeah, I guess there's so much in that book that actually you can take as much or as little as you want. And some you'll relate to, some will be alien to some people, and some of it's alien to me. But when you read something that really sits with you, you then take it on board. And actually what's nice in the book is that there's actually examples of people over the years in history that have actually that they can tell a tale based on those laws as well. And it helps relate to how that would work. So it's interesting. I find it and I still read it now. I find it very interesting.
It's a phenomenal book, and yeah, just to add to a few of the things that you said, just then the guy's knowledge of history is beyond reproach. It's just crazy because he'll quote a law and he'll say, just like when Emperor Ming in the 5th century
Exactly.
China, when he was dealing in the Three Kingdoms War, dealt with this other emperor, and you're just like, how the hell do you know that? Or he's kind of like when Napoleon fell out with Talleyrand, and then he did this, and it's just like, what the hell? He's
And that's
obviously
why there's so much information, but it is brilliant. And you can spend the whole life reading it and actually not get to the end of it because, you read something, you go, oh, okay, and then you'll relate that to something else and then move along, but keep referring back to it. So that's what I do anyway.
One of my favorite mentors that I've had in my life, who I've met through Dentistry Invest, he's read that book 16 times. That's how much he
Oh,
loves it.
really?
That's how much gravitas he places on that book. By the way, just to add to what you were saying before we bring it back to finance, with regards to what we were saying just a second ago, I think possibly the law that you might have been alluding to earlier, or the law that might concisely summarize what you were saying, is there's one. And remember, I read it a little bit more recently than you, so it's a little bit more fresh in my head. So there's one in there. I can't remember which law it is, and that law is, "In victory, never overstep the mark." It could be that one. It would seem
Potentially. There's
potentially.
one that's actually like absence is, increased value by being less present or something. I forgot what it's called. I don't know, but yeah, there's so much. It's a great book.
My favorite law is the final one, which is assume formlessness. And we're not going to go into dissecting that today on this podcast because it's probably like a podcast in and of itself. I'm going to leave everybody
Yeah.
to look that up in their spare time. Anyway, let's pull it back to finance, James, because even though that book is not necessarily anything to do with finance, there's a lot of wisdom in there for life, which will actually make you more money, in my opinion. But anyway, let's pull it back to finance. Obviously, you went on this big voyage where you got these qualifications with regards to, well, the qualifications that are necessitated to become an advisor. Even though you didn't necessarily go down that path, you got the smarts, so to speak. And when you went down that path and when you learned all the things that you learned, what were the biggest, like, most standout epiphany moments for you, or maybe the biggest misconceptions you feel that are out there in the dentistry world that knowledge helped you shatter?
The biggest thing for me was it's not all about income; it's about wealth creation as well. And so you can be earning a lot of money, earning income, but you need to consider tax. And for me, the tax rates were very important because I'm looking at, I don't want to be on a treadmill just generating good income, but then paying a lot of tax as well. And there's a lot of opportunities that I found for me personally where actually generate wealth by selling the business. And selling a dental business, and a lot of dentists there, you'll sell it at a profit level, like an EBITDA, like a multiple of profit, 6, 7, 8 times, whatever that is. But you can still then work as a dentist, so you can still generate that income on an annual basis. But then you get this lump of cash, which you're paying a lower tax rate on, which you can then invest in the other things that you want to invest in, but still generate. And so for me, it's always been about building a business, generating wealth, but keep on working as well, because I enjoy that. And so but then that comes down to the balance and having a balanced outlook and I'm not a risky guy. I don't take a lot of financial risk personally. So I'll have a balanced portfolio, a balanced outlook. And it just gave me that understanding of really how you look at the planning of the 1, 3, 5, 7 and beyond years. Just gave me a broad-based understanding, which then I related to my own situation. I said, okay, how do I do that? Okay, well, I want to generate wealth. I'm a dentist. Well, I'll build a business and I'll sell it, but I can still work. And then I'll do it again. And I've done that a couple of times. And, and at some point I'll probably do it again, because it just for me, it makes sense. And I can function at that level and I can do that. But anyone with that can build a dental business and an opportunity to sell, there's so many advantages to doing that, because you can keep working.
Big time, man. Well, just to add to what you were saying just a second ago, I feel like one of the biggest misconceptions is that everybody thinks that you should just get some cash flow and then start investing that in index funds or their ISAs or the pensions or wherever that looks. But actually, that's kind of the slow train to wealth. And when I say slow train, what I mean is it usually takes about 30 years for us to be able to actually be remunerated from that, as in receive some income. And the reason we know that is everybody retires around 50 and 60. That's literally the point that you start dipping into those pots. So if you want cash flow sooner, that's fine. However, it might mean opening a business or doing something a little bit more outside of the box or a little bit more off the beaten track, however that looks. But listen, it's totally fine what everybody chooses in life. Just know all of your options, and then you're empowered, and then you can pick the best place for you.
And I see so many people that there's no there are quick fixes, but they're higher risk, and so you talked about crypto, and that whole journey is crazy. I've got my own opinion on that. But I've seen a lot of people lose a lot. I've seen people lose a lot of money in crypto. And so you've got to understand the risk and the rewards, and it's not as easy as some people would make out to make those quick gains and those big value stuff. And you've just got to, again, for me, in my personal life, I've always gone with a balanced outlook and try to balance between property and investments and income, and try and just get that general mix there. And then I'm kind of covered for all those rainy days and problems with the economy going. Look at us now. Things are in recession currently. People don't have money, mortgage rates going up, interest rates going up. It's difficult. It's harder.
Yeah, man. Diversifying, right?
For me, that's been the key. Diversifying, looking at opportunities that are out there. I do construction. I'll build a house for myself. If you sell it, there's no capital gains tax on that. There's no it's tax free. And if you can do that, then that's great. Looking at other areas where you can make gains and stuff. Over the years, I've looked at gold coins. British gold coins. Like such as Britannias and sovereigns. There's no VAT on them. There's no capital gains on them. It's bullion, but it's currency. And so there's lots of things that I've done in myself, in my personal. I'm not advocating anybody do anything. Because you'd obviously need to speak to the right people and get the right advice. But for me, that they're opportunities that have been out there that I've seen and looked at and understand from my reading, that, okay, maybe that's an interesting thing to just, but I'd never go all in. It's all part of the whole picture, that balanced outlook that I've always hopefully tried to achieve.
Love that, love that, love that. Okay, cool. And I'm just curious. Okay, we've talked about your investing strategy high level. So whenever you obtain the qualifications for a financial planner, financial advisor, usually those qualifications educate us on how we can use traditional assets. How we define traditional assets? Well, stocks and bonds. Those are those paper assets are the backbones of the majority of people's portfolio. So I'm curious, and only divulge in as much as you're happy to divulge, how does your personal strategy look on that front? And bearing in mind that everything you say on the Dentist Invest podcast, not financial advice.
Of course, it's just what I do.
Yeah, where I'm coming at this question from is James has done these qualifications and he's a dentist. So how does that look for you, James? That would be a fascinating question.
Again, so again, I'll delve into individual stocks and shares. So what I've done over the years is I followed 10 shares. Okay. So 10 stocks on the FTSE, good solid foundation, companies that I will track, and I'll see, and this is what I do, and I'll follow their path, and I'll know their highs and their lows, and I'll know the opportunities. I'll know kind of my worst case. I don't know often my best case, but I've put stocks and shares, I put money into ISAs, and I've traded on that ISA platform to kind of generate wealth that way as well by almost, I won't call it day trading, I'll call it week trading or month trading. And if you see the stock drop for whatever reason, and stocks and shares, it's all about sentiment. Sentiment is key to everything. Whether you're talking about stocks and shares, whether you're talking about crypto, whatever it's talking about, it's sentiment that drives the markets, in my opinion. And so if you get a feel of what's going on with a certain company, and I only track a few that I know are solid and sound, then I'll invest and I'll rebuy. And I've done that over the years, just sporadically, intermittently, as I've wanted to. So I don't go all in doing any day trading kind of stuff, but I'll mix it, and I've had unit trusts and I've had all that kind of stuff, but they're on the longer term strategy. But don't forget, when you're buying unit trusts, you've got management fees, you've got ongoing fees for someone to manage the money for you. So that all comes into the equation and interest rates are high at the moment. So do you need that extra risk? And in my mind, that's what I think. Do I need that extra risk when I know I can get a decent return? But what I also do is, for me, I'll use offset mortgages and stuff, because if I can save paying interest on a mortgage, then this is my own personal decision. If I'm paying interest on a mortgage, I'm paying that net of tax. So I've got to generate double the amount basically in income in order to cover that. So to get that investment is difficult. So I'll use offset mortgaging as well, which has helped me quite a lot to decrease costs. A bit of everything, balance.
I love that, man. That's so cool. And there's a lot of knowledge that will be beneficial to the listeners. What you've just espoused just then, which is super duper duper valuable. Very curious. Here's a question that just popped into my head. Very curious. As somebody who is, in a way, almost like dual qualified between dentist and with the respective exams, one needs to be an advisor. When do you think it is most appropriate for a dentist to have a financial advisor, and what can they do on their own?
So that's a difficult question because everyone has a different wealth portfolio and different stuff. So everyone has to kind of make their own decisions. But for me at the very beginning, I wanted income protection. I wanted critical illness. I had a brain tumor 10 years ago.
Shit.
Yeah. So I had a brain tumor. I'm fine. I had treatment. I had to go to the US. I went to the US for treatment. But basically, I had a critical illness policy which paid out. I've got a life policy still, but you've got to have, those things were fundamental. So the first thing I did when I qualified was I got myself fully covered and I maxed it out. I really covered myself, and that was a good call at the time. So for me, that was really important, and it was the right decision. But yeah, you should, if you have no financial understanding, and even I had some understanding now, but I still got people that I talk to about my current situation. And so yeah, a financial advisor is key. Someone that understands. If you don't understand, you need to do that. I mean, if you're going to mess around yourself, then do it with money that isn't important, But I would always recommend you've got to see someone that understands, that can look at your risk. I've always wanted to sleep at night, so I will never invest anything that means I'm waking up in the middle of the night checking what's happening. For me, that doesn't work for me. I want to have a restful sleep. I don't want to be worrying. So that limits my risk profile personally. And but everyone will make their own judgment on that. If you've got loads of money, then you can do what you like. If you haven't, and you've got kids and strategy, then you've got to just go see a financial advisor. They'll understand where you are, see what your plans are, whether it's private schooling or holiday, whatever it is. There's you don't want to be, you want to be getting advice. Absolutely. And so I still get advice. Some stuff I do on my own, but I'm 51 now, so I do have some ability to invest some stuff myself and not really worry too much about what happens. But that's the position I'm in, and a lot of people will get there, I guess. But they need to take the right advice. It's really important from the beginning.
Awesome, man. And yeah, apologies on my behalf because I consciously threw you a little bit of a curveball just then. Because I know that that is a very pertinent question on a lot of dentists' minds. So it's good that you answered that, and you also put a few caveats in there as well, so that we're not giving everybody the impression to suggest for even 1 minute that it is a good idea for everybody out there to go and manage their affairs should they be quite
No, not at all. You've got to understand, and I take advice all the time, whether it's from banks or from, IFAs or whoever it is. I'll take advice as well because, it's always easy to look at your own and to do to kind of like positively it's what's it called, something confirmation, I forgot, it's got a term, but you kind of reinforce your own thought process by your own thought process. And it's nice for someone from a third party to look in from outside and say, actually, do you know what, have you looked at X, Y, and Z, because you're kind of missing that. So it's always good to get, you must get advice. Everyone has to get advice.
boom. Okay, James. Well, listen, thank you so much for your words of wisdom today on the Dentistry Invest podcast. Very valuable episode, I feel. So looking forward to hearing all the positive feedback from this episode, I'm sure. But before we just go, I'm just wondering, is there anything that you would like to say just in conclusion to wrap everybody, or to wrap this podcast up today for the benefit of the listeners, insofar as high level words of wisdom, super snappy advice?
I just think what you're doing, James, is great. I think you're really opening up the conversation, which is important. That people and dentists specifically, we're very fortunate as a profession that we can work. That there's jobs for us all. We can work and generate a good standard of living. But a lot of people, dentists, don't understand what really they should be doing or how they should be managing their finances and also their let's say critical illness and life policies and stuff. These are all really important and it forms part of your overall balance. And I think what you're doing, James, is opening up people's eyes and making them aware of that. So good on you for doing that, and good luck with your mission.
Hey mate, hats off. Well, listen, thank you for that. And all I can say is it's been a wild ride, and I never expected all of this to happen, but I'm certainly immensely grateful for this podcast that we have shared today. I'm already looking forward to the next one. James, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure that we'll
All the
see
best.
you very, very soon. In a bit. Bye bye.
Bye.